This is Gamble Quest, where we discuss all things gambling, poker, blackjack, roulette, dice. It doesn't matter. If you're gambling on it, we discussing it. Let's go on this journey together as we educate ourselves on the gambling world. What's up, everybody? This is Emmanuel at Gamble Quest, and today we're gonna be talking some sports betting with Teddy, and we're gonna get some education on sports betting and how he does this thing when it comes to sports betting. So Teddy, where you from, and how did you get involved with sports betting?
All right, my name is Teddy, aka Cocaine White, aka Cokeezy, from Miami, Florida. Um, and to answer your first question, um, the underworld. When it comes to being to sports betting, I didn't start sport betting until I came back from college, looking for another source of income because I already had one job, but then I was trying to maximize my profits and my earnings, and trying to find, some legitimate flipping. Um, what I did notice was that in Miami it wasn't legal to gamble yet. So as far as sports gambling was concerned, so I had to adhere or try to find the underworld bookies, to find the guys that were doing sport betting at the local bodegas, the mom and pop stores, and things like that. And I always used to wonder why some of these stores would have a long line on Saturday morning and no other time. You know what I mean? And I guess
Yeah.
that was college football Saturday.
Mhm.
Or Sunday before NFL Sunday, they would have a long line, but they want nobody comes out the store with any groceries or any bags, but they was coming out with tickets,
Mhm.
and I kind of found out what these tickets meant. And once I got hip, I started gambling. So I would say it took me about I've been gambling for like 4 5 years before the Hard Rock and all of these other companies came into the picture, and we started to you know go into those lanes as far as legalized sports gambling in
Mhm.
South Florida.
Mhm. Now we spoke earlier about sports betting and sports gambling being legalized now, and do you think it's better now that you can legally sports bet opposed to going to these stores and these bodegas?
Yeah, I think for the consumer it's definitely better. I mean, the fact that um, a lot of the bodegas and a lot of the underworld bookies, they used to restrict your betting. Like there were certain things that you would try to do that they wouldn't allow you to do. You
Mhm.
know, one bookie I know, for example, would force you to have a 3 to 14 parlay.
Mhm.
Where I might just come in and I want to take the Rams over the Niners,
Mhm.
you know, plus, the Rams -4. And I just want to put $200 on that. They'd be like, nah, you got to put three more teams on your parlay, which means you got to bet on three more games.
Mhm.
And yeah, the earnings would be bigger if I hit, but it was the higher probability that I would lose the bet.
Mhm.
So I guess that was their way of the house getting richer, and
Mhm.
the gambler getting poorer.
Mhm.
The dreamer wishing on a star.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one thing people need to know. The more bets you put on a ticket, the more chances of you have of losing, opposed to just straight betting or having a single bet. So people need to know that. A lot of people come. I know a lot of people come with like $5 or $10. They pick this long list of bets, but they got to realize all those bets got to hit in order for
Hmm.
them to get paid out.
Yeah.
And like you said, is a big amount of money when you win, but the chances are you winning is not good.
Oh, never, never,
Yeah.
man. It's and the crazy thing is how I got into the game. Like I said, it was a friend of mine, and he was younger than me, but I used to mentor him. So he was telling me about the jug. He was like, "Yo, man, you don't be gambling." And I'm like, nah, but I'm into sports, but I wasn't watching it full, I wasn't full throttle.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, man, yeah, I'm on that baseball heavy. And, I know this and I know that. And he just gave me some plays.
Mm-hmm.
And I think within the first two tickets I put in, I hit like on a 12-team parlay.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first time I betted in that arena, I thought it was sweet. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, I'm gonna be hitting 12 teamers all day because I
Yeah.
got the jug.
Yeah.
And then I remember I told my brother, my older brother, and my older brother was like, "Oh man, they got you. You gone now. You stuck."
Yeah.
Because the first time you bet, you already won on a 12-team parlay. He said, "Man, you gonna think you could hit those every day.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna think you could hit those every day, and those things are like once in a lifetime."
Mm-hmm.
Like some people hit on a parlay, a 10-teamer once in their whole life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the chances are very slim.
Mm-hmm.
But and and honestly, he was right because from that point I was hooked. I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, if I could turn $5 into $1,300,
Mm-hmm.
by just putting some numbers on the paper and making sure the plays were lined up right. Oh man,
Yeah.
you can't beat that.
Yeah. Yeah. That it would have hooked me too.
Exactly,
But
man.
but we know that ain't reality. You know how hard it is to pick 12 things that actually come in and hit. That's extremely
Yeah,
hard. I don't
exactly.
I the I personally know my cousin Mike. He had a nine pick, but he also had a bunch of money lines too.
Uh huh.
So
Uh huh. Uh huh.
but that's the most I've ever heard somebody hitting. Um, but my next question to you, Teddy, is what sport do you think you have the biggest edge in?
Me personally, I think football.
Okay,
I think I
and what
think
and why?
football and NFL football and college football because the first the strength of schedules,
Mm-hmm.
in college football. That you have your beginning of the season where those be the cupcake games.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of the season, you might have Ohio State versus Youngstown State.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you already know Ohio State gonna cover whatever. They could say Ohio State by 70, and you're gonna take 70 points. You're gonna take
Mm-hmm.
that 70 points
Mm-hmm.
because Youngstown State is not gonna be able to stand up in the paint with Ohio State based on the funding, based on the facilities, based on the
Mm-hmm.
athletes that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then NFL to me is more NFL is kind of more sustainable because you can follow and do the research on the players that are coming back, the teams that are intact, and the different strategies that those teams and schemes that they run.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like some people thought Detroit was a fluke last year.
Mm-hmm.
When they went far and then they got knocked out in the first round. But this year, if you follow football, you knew that Detroit was going to be strong at least in this regular season. So
Mm-hmm.
you could ride them out as long as you could, And I believe they was what 15-2 or
Mm-hmm.
14-3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's 14 times if you bet with them, you were up. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? In a 17-game season. So it's scenarios like that to me make it easier to deal with and sustain in the NFL. Um,
Now, Teddy, let me ask you this. You said the early college football season is where you know you're going to get a lot of cupcake teams playing
mhm.
big teams, like big known colleges. And would it be a good strategy to load up early in the season, like put a lot of money early in the season, opposed to further down the line when they playing the teams in their conference?
I think it would be I mean why not? I mean especially if you've done your research on the teams that's came back, if
Mm-hmm.
you've done your research on the teams that are returning, like how many starters they have returning and things of that nature, yeah, why not? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it's to me it's a no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if you had Ohio State versus Youngstown State early in the season, you're gonna take them and the points.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what goes into you? what type of research you do? Do you just watch the game, or do you read the blogs, or do you look at the sports shows? What goes into you picking your bets?
Oh, now that's the research, man. There's a lot of outlets that we use, and now they're coming up with different apps. Like
Hmm.
Scores is a good sports app. I think ESPN Bet has one. Um, CBS Sports. What I do a lot of research on those things. I kind
Hmm.
of go into the climate of the team. Like, say for instance, you may have a team that got a they may have like some little scandal going on,
Hmm.
or it may be something of that nature. Or the coach is on a hot seat.
Hmm.
So, for instance, so certain things, when you realize these things are happening, you might not want to put your money behind those teams because the coaches might be too desperate,
Hmm.
and they're not going to give you the ample time to do what you're trying to do, you
Hmm.
know. Like like say for instance, yeah, but I do a lot of research. My girlfriend
Hmm.
say I do way too much research. She say I got the phone in my hand all the time. She says it's an inconvenience. All you do is got that phone in your hand, this and that. I'm like, man, this phone bringing me money, so I
Exactly.
can't hear it. I'm
Exactly.
like, man, I try to do as much research. I look into the plays. Another thing I do is logistics, finding out how far the other team done travel to go
Mm.
play. Like when a West Coast team got to come play an East Coast team,
Mm.
and they had to travel 4 5 hours to get here and play at 1 o'clock.
Hmm.
Oh man, I'll take the East Coast team, especially like a home underdog. I'll take them all day, just
Mm.
because the other team may have jet lag and things
Mm.
of that nature coming over to the East Coast to start their little away run or their road trip, so to speak.
Hmm.
So it's different things that come into play. But yeah, definitely do a lot of research. You got covers.com. You got it's a lot of websites that kind of give you a lot of valid information.
Okay.
I try not to I know on Instagram, the more prevalent you become in gambling on the internet and on social sites, you see everybody trying to get you into a subscription
Hmm.
or come get with me, and they tell you just take my picks and don't put the research in. But I feel like sometimes you know better. Sometimes
Hmm.
if you really know sports, you know better sometimes. And if you go with what someone else puts and you lose your money, you feel some type of way about it.
Hmm.
So I'd rather just do my own research, and if I lose, I lose. But at least I lost it on my own cognizance.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? As opposed to losing off of what somebody else told me or what they thought was good,
Hmm.
and I knew better. But
Hmm.
I went with it because I trusted what you got going on.
Now,
But yeah, it's a lot of research put into it, man. That's what I've learned. And now they got AI. People is asking AI
mhm.
to what's the probability of the teams that they're
Yeah.
choosing to win, and some people are smacking on that. I ain't got comfortable doing that at all, but
Um,
because I'm considered old school,
yeah.
but I wouldn't mind if I
Yeah.
found me an AI system that was telling me, man, look, this is what you got to do and run it like that.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Well,
Especially
well,
if it was
a
working.
lot of, these. Sorry about cutting you off. A lot of these phones come. You can just download the AI app and you just could just ask them. If you didn't know that, you could download. It's like it's called what? Chat GPT. You just
Yeah, I
download.
got it, but I haven't used it like in that
Okay.
capacity yet. And
Okay.
then you gotta trust it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Then you gotta trust it. It's
Yeah.
one thing to ask them and
Yeah.
get an idea. Then you gotta put your money where your mouth is. Put your
True.
money where their mouth is.
True.
You know
True.
what I'm saying? So I
Teddy.
mean, can you imagine using the AI to
Uh,
pick your bets and they
uh-huh.
lose,
Yeah.
and you was like, man, you was leaning the other way, you'll
Yeah.
feel some type of way about it.
For sure. You're right, Teddy. Now
Yeah.
we you
So
spoke you go ahead.
but to each his own. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Right. You're right.
If everybody want a competitive edge when it comes to sports gambling, they gonna do what they trying to do.
True. You're right. Now, now you spoke briefly about these people that be on Instagram and these social media sites, and they be like selling pics and like actually selling subscriptions for giving you the picks, to say that they're gonna win. Do you believe in that, or is that a scam? I don't know.
I think I think um I think some people have I think some people are credible.
Hmm.
Some people can really produce, and you're
Hmm.
gonna win more with them than you're going to lose.
Hmm.
Um, but I think most of them is shooting ducks in the water. It's
Hmm.
like throwing pennies in the pond.
Hmm.
Your guess is as good as theirs.
Hmm.
It's a 50-50 chance at the end of the day,
Hmm.
whether what you choosing, whether they're gonna cover the spread or not, or
Hmm.
whether they're gonna win or lose.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's like if you've done the proper research and you kind of you kind of you got confidence in what you do and your ability, then
Hmm.
yeah, you'll be able to pick the right picks. You know what I
Okay.
mean, based on your research. But I always tell people don't do the blind betting.
Hmm.
Don't just bet just to bet for the sake of it. Some people just feel like they gotta put in something just because.
Hmm.
Oh shit, it's 7 o'clock. I gotta I gotta get something in, and they just
Hmm.
and they throw something up and then hope it win. It's like throwing money in the air and seeing what come back down in your
Hmm.
pocket.
Hmm.
You
Gotcha.
know.
Gotcha. Now, Teddy, do you think somebody can make a living off sports betting for real? You think somebody can make a real living off sports betting? Let's say I had, let's say I got $10,000 and I want to do the research. I'm
You
gonna do
starting to
it.
break up again. You
Okay,
say what?
okay. Do, I, my question is, do you think somebody can make a living off just sports betting alone?
Yeah, if you do it right.
Okay,
If you do it right. And I
okay.
think if you do it right, and then you got to recognize, you got to know how to do it.
Hmm.
You got to know when to fold. You got to know when to pull out. Well, a lot of people don't know when they're in too deep.
Hmm.
You know, like some people don't understand. Um, it's like you. I always say you should bet to win consistently,
Hmm.
as opposed to trying to win big.
Hmm.
Because if you try to win big every day, you're gonna lose more than you win.
Hmm.
But if you try to win consistently, then you'll get better results that way.
Hmm.
You'll get better results and you'll see your dividends, you'll see your money. You'll
Hmm.
be playing with the house money longer than you trying to go in your pockets to break the bank.
Hmm.
Because you're never gonna break the house.
Hmm.
And that's what I think people get that mindset where they're trying to whoop the bookie, or they're trying to whoop the hard rock, but they got unlimited funds. So
Hmm.
if you think that you doing something, you spending $300 to try to make 10 bands on a 15 team parlay, that
Hmm.
shit it ain't gonna add up.
Hmm.
If it don't hit, you out of your 250. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But if it hit, then yeah, you're gonna make whatever you make. But you probably done spent that 250 every day for like the last 2 months trying to get that. So you just
Hmm.
evened up.
Hmm.
You barely evened up. Sometimes you might win and still don't have the odds to
Hmm.
where you come out in the black
Hmm.
as opposed to being in the red. So
Hmm.
I think yeah, you can make a living gambling. Like some people are professional gamblers.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's how you do it. You know what I mean? And not being greedy. Cause
Hmm.
cause it works off greed.
Hmm.
The fact that you going for more and more and more and don't know when to pull your money out and say, okay, I'm good today.
Hmm.
Like somebody could be winning, they could win an early morning parlay, afternoon parlay, and then they be like, you know what, man, I got one more game tonight, man. I'm gonna put all the money I won today on this one and lose.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, they might feel okay with it, and they took that risk. But if they would have just said, "Nah, let me chill on that last bet," they'd be up $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then they spend that 4,000 on a risk, on a hunch, and
Mm-hmm.
lose it all in one bet.
Mm-hmm.
You
Do
know,
do you have experience of do you have the experience of hitting and then trying to be greedy and trying to hit a bigger bet? Have you ever been through that yourself?
not me, because I
Okay.
always my thing is always I take a small risk to reap a high reward.
Mm,
You know,
okay.
I'm like the hustler. I buy wholesale and sell retail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's always been my concept. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go crazy,
Mm-hmm.
chasing something that I've already attained. Once I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing with the house money, I realize that I'm ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So once I go below that, then now I'm lost. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's like going to the casino,
Mm-hmm.
and you hit a jackpot for 3,400, and you came in with 100 to spend.
Mm-hmm.
After you hit, if your budget was 100, stay at that budget.
Mm-hmm.
After you hit that 3,400, you might spend $100 from your earnings, the hundred
Mm-hmm.
dollars that you came in with, and after those 200 is gone, you should be out of there, and you
True.
just take your money and go and come back another day. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But
Mm-hmm.
people can't do that. People
Mm-hmm.
can't walk away from it. You know what I mean? And that's the fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fire that burns inside, that keeps us wanting more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more. We keep going back for it.
Mm-hmm.
Greed to get you every time.
Yeah. Sounds like you're saying you got to be disciplined. You got to be
Yeah, you
disciplined.
definitely do,
Yeah.
man. Because the house never loses. The longer you stay in the house, the more likely you gonna give it all up to them.
True.
You know.
Teddy, how okay, how do because you sports bet, you have wins, you have losses. Everybody don't win every time. How do you deal with losing? How, like when you're going on a losing streak, how you deal with that? Do you just stop for a little bit, or you say I'm just gonna quit for the rest of the year and I'll come back again? How do you deal with losing? Because we know it's a lot people always talk about the wins, but how do you deal with the losing part of it? Do
Well,
you have a bankroll to manage your money a certain way, or like, how do you
well, I
deal?
mean, like I said, me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
have a you have to have a budget. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta have a budget, and what it is a unit. What I have to do is you gotta you have to restrict yourself and create a daily budget.
Mm-hmm.
And if I over exceed that daily budget, what I'm gambling on,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm done with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I realize that when you start chasing it, you never really get what you're looking for back. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you might think you did, but
Mm-hmm.
you just dug yourself a deeper hole.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally.
Okay.
You
Teddy,
know.
now I've been seeing you post your March Madness wins on your story on Instagram. So
Uh huh.
tell me about what type of bets you've been putting in. Like, what's your strategy for March Madness bets? What's your strategy? Because I've been seeing you've been winning.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's no different than any other time. That's why I say it's March Madness all year long. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same. It's the same philosophy. It's just what I realized. What I realized is that in March, a lot of people start to gamble more because they have a lot of the basketball tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So when people that don't really ever gamble start to come into our lane, we have to go ahead and make things happen. I'm on a podcast right now, man. You want to chill? Thank you, sir. Sorry about that,
No,
man.
you good, bro. It's
Yeah,
all good. Yeah.
yeah. But and then I forgot what we was talking about.
No, we'll talk about your March Madness strategy because I've been seeing you posting your wins on your story.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's the same concept. I just try to go with it. What it is? You got a lot of basketball at this time of the season, so and then right after February, right after the All Star break, the NBA teams become more. I think the rosters fill out. You kind of know who's injured, who's packing it up for the year, who's going in strong for the year, who's going to try to make their run to the playoffs, and then who's going to the lottery. So a
Mhm.
lot of the garbage teams, they kind of lay down more, and then a lot of the teams that are inspiring or trying to get to the playoffs, they play extra hard. So it makes it easier for you to kind of find out what's going on a daily basis. Based on the race, the playoff race, the hunt. Even in college basketball, those teams that are on the bubble trying to get into the dance, trying to get into the tournament, those guys are start playing harder. There's teams that they had a horrible season, but if they win their conference tournament, they get a seat in the dance. So it's teams like Notre Dame that been sorry all year, but in the tournament they start to get a couple of wins because they're trying to get into the dance. So those teams might cover some of those outrageous spreads that they might say the other teams that are predominantly winning the conference are going to cover or score on them. They might cover because they're playing extra hard, trying to get in. So these things kind of help me when I decipher who I'm going to put on the ticket. And I think that's the most important thing, knowing who to put on the ticket and how do you set up your tickets.
Okay.
Some people like to set it up during time frames. Some people set up their tickets to ride out all day. Some people set up their tickets to where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go with the 11 o'clock games and the 12 o'clock games. Then I'm gonna do the 3 o'clock games. And sometimes that might limit you based on who you got available to bet on. But I just try to come up with the right formula. And I can't say there's not one specific formula. You know what I'm saying? But I know there's a dude that I do follow, and his name is Parlay P. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you've heard of him, but
Mm-hmm.
he's one of those guys that sells a subscription and he gives you plays. But his whole mentality is like mine: low risk, high reward. And he tries to set up parlays for people that people buy into, and he has a high percentage rate of winning at least once a night. Two or three of those parlays are gonna hit, and
Mm-hmm.
then he also has the strategy where he'll give you like three single teamers, and then he'll give you like three parlays,
Mm-hmm.
and out of those six bets, one of them gonna hit, and the one that hits is probably gonna pay for the rest of the bets that you put in. So you
Gotcha.
probably break even for the most part of the day. Even if you just get one victory, you break even.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you win two or three times, you're way up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you play with the house money, you do the same thing again the next day or the next 2 days. However you want to do it. But he's pretty consistent on that, so I always give him a shout out.
Okay,
And
so Parlay P. Okay, I gotta start following him.
Parlay P,
Okay, I gotta start following him so I can
yeah.
try to get some of them picks. Cause I'm like I'm learning about
Yeah. And
sports
then
betting myself.
I
But yeah.
also
Mm-hmm.
um, amongst myself, we started up our own like Discord, and it's called Winners Only Picks.
Okay.
And it's three heads. It's three heads in there, and we're three cappers, three sharp shooters, I
Mm-hmm.
guess you could say. And we throw out little plays to the people that have subscribed to our Discord, and our winning percentage is pretty high in there too.
Okay.
But we give people options to pick and to further, their bets. You know what I'm saying? Because
Oh,
sometimes you might be leaning towards something, but you want to hear what somebody else's opinion is.
mm-hmm.
Someone that is more maybe prosperous
Mm-hmm.
in the betting arena as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to you. Like you might be in there just trying to get your feet wet, and there's
Mm-hmm.
this guy that be hitting every day. So he could tell you certain information about the bet that you about to take than somebody else that don't know nothing about it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then some
So.
people just are lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like I introduced my girlfriend to betting and she started hitting parlays and prize picks on like stats,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was like, that's crazy,
Yeah.
you know. But I mean, I always say, you got beginner's luck, and then you
Mm-hmm.
got to be able to be consistent to stay on top.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So the Discord group is called what? What is it again? What's the Discord group again called?
winners only picks.
Winners only picks. Okay.
Winners only.
And do you
Yeah.
charge for this Discord or is it free?
No, we charge for the VIP. We charge
Okay.
for the VIP subscription. The regular
Okay.
subscribers is like a free chat, and then we,
Mm-hmm.
we throw out like a pick of the day every day. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people just eat off that. They got one pick. They could put $100 on it. They could put 50 to whatever they want to put on it. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as it hits at the end of the day, and that has a high rate. Like we almost like 88%
Mm.
on that, on the pick of the day. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like we high, you know. And what we'll do is we'll all three of us will be like, do we like it? Or or we'll put it out there like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Like I remember last week, I was in charge of doing that, and I gave him Duke run line, and Duke smashed somebody by like 35 points, and I
Mm.
think they was favored by like 18.
Mm.
So that was, and some people were scared to take it because the spread looked so outrageous,
Mm-hmm.
but they covered tremendously. They
Mm-hmm.
almost doubled what the spread was.
Okay.
So, sometimes you feel it, and you
Mm-hmm.
and you want to give everybody else the sauce, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they be scared to take it.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah. So
you know.
so Teddy, I got a few more questions for you. Teddy, what was your biggest win in sports betting? What was your biggest win?
My biggest win. That's a good question. I've had solo bets. I've
Mm-hmm.
had solo bets that's eclipsed like 1,500,
Okay.
and then I've had parlays that have eclipsed like maybe like 3,000.
Okay.
But like I said, remember I'm a small better.
Mm-hmm.
I bet small, and then I kind of get the relay. So me, I'm the type of guy that I hit like for 250
Mm-hmm.
twice in one day,
Mm-hmm.
or 750, and then $100 later on. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So me, I would say the most bread that I've made in one day has been in one day has been like maybe 4,200 in
Okay.
one day.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's with
Mm-hmm.
a couple of bets, a couple of parlays hitting, and then me going back in, or me having two or three tickets that are successful, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like parlays of the same sort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give somebody? What basic advice would you give somebody that's going out and betting for their first time? What would you tell somebody that's going out taking their $100? Okay, let's say for instance I got $100 right to spend. I get paid next week. I got $100 to put towards betting. What would you tell that person to go bet on?
If somebody that I didn't hear the beginning of that question,
Okay,
you started breaking up.
okay, all right. Say for instance I got $100 right, and I don't get paid the next week, but I got $100 to try to stretch it and try to make a win off it. What would you tell that person with his $100 to bet on?
All right, I would go. I would tell them. I would tell them to use that $100, break it into two, and I will go. I would take two $50 bets on single team bets,
Mm-hmm.
or a two-team parlay. I would probably get $150 on a straight up team that I like maybe saying OKC, like OKC the Thunder,
Mm-hmm.
because they're pretty good at covering
Mm-hmm.
um in NBA. I would
Okay.
probably put 50 on OKC, and then I would probably put another 50 on OKC and another team like maybe the Houston Rockets against like the Pelicans or something like that. And
Okay.
I would use that formula. I would
Okay.
break down the $50 is gonna bring me back another 50, so that 50 gonna turn into 100, and then the
Mm-hmm.
50 that he put on the two-team parlay is gonna turn into like it's gonna turn into like 110, 120. So
Okay.
now you got your 100 back, and now you at 220.
Yeah.
So now you got $220. You can
Yeah.
put that $100 that you were trying to stretch away and
Yeah.
go with the 120 and do the same thing again.
Okay.
50, 50, or 60 and 60, and bust it down again. One team or two teamers. I
For
would
sure.
do that until I got all my bank up, until I'm like at 500.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could probably take half of that money and do a one big bet on a one teamer and get
Okay.
the 500.
Okay.
You
For
know what I
sure,
mean?
man.
Just try to double up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to triple, quadruples, quintuple. Just
Mm-hmm.
keep it consistent and just continue to double up,
Mm-hmm.
because the more chances that you try to go too crazy, the more chances you're gonna lose, and then you start back at zero again.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is to not go back to zero, to
Mm-hmm.
not go back in your money and pull out your pockets, because
For
you want
sure.
to play with the house money.
For sure. Well, hey, all right,
You hear
Teddy,
me?
man. Hey, I appreciate you taking time out your day, man. Hey, I really learned a lot from
You
you,
breaking
bro.
up again.
I was like, hey, can you hear me?
You breaking up again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
me?
yeah.
All right.
What'd you say?
No, I was saying, hey,
Yeah.
thank you for taking time out your day, man, and speaking with me. I really learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure the viewers gonna learn a lot too when they listen to this.
Oh, no pressure, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate you hitting me up and asking for my insight, man. I'm
definitely.
glad that my short term success is
Hmm.
inspiring you. It's
Hmm.
inspired you to want to come rock with me. That means I'm
Definitely.
doing something that people like, and we, like I said, with the winners only picks, we trying to share the wealth and
Hmm.
try to help other people get on. You
Hmm.
know, and like I say, I like I was telling you beforehand, I was like, there's balance too, man. And a lot of people don't realize how addictive sports gambling can be. Because once you start winning, you think you're gonna win all the time,
Hmm.
and it's not the case. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's not the case. I wish we gotta get back and talk about some of the bad things
Hmm.
about gambling and the the criteria. But
Hmm.
we gotta
Definitely.
create business.
Definitely.
You gotta
Definitely.
create, you gotta create balance.
Hmm. Hey, I appreciate it, Teddy, man. Hey, thank you, man. Hey, and I'm definitely gonna be bringing you
What's
back
that?
on, okay?
All right, no pressure, man. I
All
appreciate
right,
your
bro.
time.
All right.